Hello and welcome to another video. I am your host, Pointy Paints, and we're going to be doing another Age of Sigmar 4th edition, where we look at magic, invocations and mysteries and all of that good stuff in the new edition of 4th edition Age of Sigmar. So grab a brew, get comfortable, and let's jump in and have a little look. Oh yes, casting supreme sorceries and chanting powerful prayers in the new Age of Sigmar 4th edition. So yeah, Games Workshop dropped the article on Friday. I'm only getting around to it now, being very busy. And yeah, it's all about magic and casting and all of that jazz. And there are some big changes, some huge changes. Obviously, how cool does that Lizardman army look? So good. And Mr. Techless himself, Mr. Magic. So there is a lot of interesting things. So we're going to kick this off straight away with each spellcaster in the game is identified by the keyword wizard. Amazing. Which is followed by their power level. A number of, in brackets, that determines the number of spells, unbinds, and banishes abilities that they can use per phase. So a hero with the keyword wizard 2 can fire off a single spell and attempt to banish and end a spell and invocation. That is right. Endless spells are here to stay, and so are invocations. I know some of you may have been like me and hoping they were disappearing for good, but they're not, so, you know, it sucks. But here we are with the War Scroll for the weird knob shaman dude. As you can see at the bottom, he has the hero, Wizard 1, Infantry, Destruction, and Iron Jaws. Any canny observer there will obviously have already noticed that he does not have the keyword Oruk Walklands. So, potential splitting of the battle tome down into two separate battle tomes. Maybe this is way of Games Workshop's filling the gap that the Bone Splitters and the Beasts of Chaos have now created. But we will digress and get back on the topic. So, obviously, the Wind Knob Shaman, who is probably a main staple of any Iron Jaws army, has got a movement of 4, as fast as an orc as it could always be, a health of 6, a 6-up save, a 2 for control, and he has 2 attack profiles. Now, the savvy person will also realise that Green Puke, which used to be his War Scroll spell, is now a ranged attack and can be shot in combat, which is pretty good. So it's got a 10-inch reach, attacks a dice 4, it hits on a 2+, it wounds on a 4+, it has no rend, and it does D3 damage. It's not bad. And it's not a spell like it used to be, which is pretty good. He has the melee weapon, his War Staff, and he has 3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, -1 rend, D3 damage, which is pretty good. Now, he's pretty standard. You know, you're going to need him mainly for how the magic works. So he has a passive ability, Brutal Power. So the effect is add 1 to this unit's power level while they are any friendly Iron Jaws units that have 10 or more models wholly within 12 inches of it. So that's not like how it used to work, where you can multiple units and you had multiple positive modifiers to the casting and everything else. Now it's basically, if you've got multiple units and they've got 10 or more models, you get add 1 to the power level, which means he then becomes power level 2, and you'll be able to do lots of things with that. Not that much, but you'll be able to do a bit. So obviously, spell laws have changed in the new edition and are selected as part of the construction of your army. Pick a single spell law, and every sorcerer in your army can attempt to cast any of the spells from that law. This means you no longer need to keep track of which spells a Wind Knob Shaman knows, and you can attempt to cast that spell with any of them. So the new spell, and we can get a little bit of a look at the new spell here. It's done in your hero phase, because it's yellow and it says hero phase. It has a casting value of 6. That is what that little sort of circly thing. And I think if you have a little look at this, there is a little symbol and colour around each of those numbers. So there's a yellow, a green, a blue, a grey, a pink, a red, an orange, and a white. I've got a feeling These are probably going to have something to do with the different laws of magic. Ooh. But yes, so the Law of the Weird, which I imagine the Law of the Weird is probably going to be a spell law that's going to be in the Iron Jaws faction pack. Mighty Headbutt. So declare, pick a friendly Iron Jaws wizard that can cast this spell, pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of them, of the target, and then make a casting roll of 2d6. So 2d6, need to score 6 or higher. Effect, inflict d3 mortal wounds on the target. If the target is a wizard, inflict 3 mortal damage on the target instead. Pretty easy. Not bad. 18 inches, potentially d3 mortal wounds, or sorry, d3 mortal damage. And if it's a wizard, flat 3 mortal damage. Pretty good. Quite like it, and it's pretty easy, pretty laid out, and pretty good. So, Unbinding, and obviously we have an Unbinding reaction. So, even the unlimited spells. So there is a little bit in the article here which talks about spells and unlimited and all of this kind of stuff. So, no more than the one friendly wizard can cast the same spell each turn. So, if you want to do the Mighty Headbutt, and you've got 2 wizards, only one of them can cast it. Unless that spell has the new unlimited keyword. Now, I can guarantee you now, the Heesh spell, the one that allows Lumineth Realm Lords to turn their Sun Metal weapons on and get mortal wounds on a 5 and 6, I guarantee that that spell will be a universal spell for that army, and they'll be able to use it. And they'll also have the unlimited rules. So it doesn't matter how many of those guys have got it, they'll all be able to cast it. So even the unlimited spells can't be repeatedly cast by the same wizard. Well, it is fine because they can only do it once in the same turn, but every other unit will be able to do it. Casting rolls are still 2d6, and if a casting roll includes a double 1, then the spell is miscast. The caster takes d3 mortal damage and can no longer cast more spells in that phase. So pretty much as it currently stands. So you have a reaction in the opponent declares a spell ability. You can try to unbind it. So a friendly wizard within 30 inches, has not changed, of the enemy wizard can cast the spell. Effect, make an unbinding roll of a 2d6. If the roll exceeds the casting roll for the spell, then the spell is unbound, and the effect is not resolved. The reaction cannot be used more than once per casting roll. So, you can't keep rolling to unbind. You can only get one attempt at it. So, that's pretty good. So, unbinding is an important part of spellcasting counterplay, and with the magical intervention letting canny casters crack off spells in their opponent's hero phase, the unbind reaction ability is vital. Pretty cool. As an exception to the usual reactions of abilities, a wizard can attempt to use the unbind reaction multiple times per phase based on their power level, but only once per casting roll. So, what that means is if you have if you're a wizard, in brackets 4, you can potentially do 4 unbinds. Which means Nagash is going to do 9 unbinds. Teclis, we don't know what wizard he is yet, but he's probably going to be wizard lots. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, one of the things that I really like about this, and I'm really super excited because I am starting Blades of Khorne, is prayers. Oh, yeah, baby. Prayers are coming, and prayers sound really cool. The gods have cast their divine light on the prayers in the new edition, which are now more powerful than ever. And very different from spells. In some key ways, as with your spellcasters and sorcerers, your priests are marked out by a keyword with an associated power level, and may use a combination of prayer and banish abilities each phase up to that number. So obviously, just like the others, you use a prayer to cast a prayer, and you use a banish to stop a prayer. So we get a really good look at a Slaughter Priest, and as you can see, the Slaughter Priest is a hero, Priest 1, Infantry, Chaos, Blades of Khorne, Bloodbound, Go Chosen. Yeah, I wonder what all that means. Oh, exciting times. So he has a movement of 5, he has 6 health, he has a 5 up save, which is not great, and he has 2 control. He has one weapon profile, which is the Blood-Bathed Weapon. 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage, no abilities. And he has two little sort of rules. So he has a once per turn army, your hero phase. Wow, once per turn army. Blood sacrifice. So this is the kind of, this is the new mechanic for prayers. And basically it's kind of like sort of points. You kind of have a resource that you can sort of manage, and they can then cast, and you can kind of get like super prayers off. So we're going to go through blood sacrifice. Declare, pick a friendly unit within this unit's combat range to be the target. Roll a d3. Obviously, this isn't the prayer thing, but this is like their blood type thing that they're going to be able to do. Roll a d3 and on a 2+. So that's a d. This. We're just gonna talk about this right now, because this sort of sentence and mechanic has caused a lot of people confusion. In Age of Sigmar, you have 2 types of dice. You have a d3, which is essentially a 3-sided dice. Obviously, there is no such thing as a 3-sided dice. So the easiest way that works is you use a 6-sided dice and you kind of half the result. So a 1 and a 2 would equal a 1, and a 3 and a 4 would equal a 2, and a 5 and a 6 would equal a 3. So you roll a d3 on a 2+, so you roll 2 or more on a d3, which means on a d6 you would actually need to roll a 3 or a 4 or higher, 3+. Inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. So it's a d3, not a d6. And this is why I think people get confused. So if you roll a 2+ on a d3, essentially if you're going to be rolling a d6, it's going to be a 3+. You're going to roll either, you're going to do either 2 mortal damage or 3 mortal damage, essentially. If you roll a 1 and a 2, you ain't doing nothing. And you gain a blood tithe point. So he also has the passive ability Scorn of Sorcery. So this unit can unbind abilities as if it was a wizard 1, which is kind of cool. So there's a lot of anti-magic in here, because I've got a feeling that there's going to be a lot of Scorn of Sorcery rules scattered throughout the heroes of Blades of Khorne. So like spellcasting, you're picking. So like spellcasting, you're going to be picking. You pick one spell law when building your army, but then the similarities end. Instead of making a single dramatic casting roll, these combative clerical bespeech their deities, may even be on the battlefield with them at the same time through chanting. So this is the new sort of mechanic that the prayers have. Every prayer will be ask you to roll a d6 chanting roll. On a 2+, your priest gains that many ritual points, which accumulate over multiple turns. Each prayer has a chanting value that you'll need to match before it will be answered, and may include a higher value that can have a power-up the result miracle than ever. For example, a Slaughter Priest can unleash the Witchbane Curse to weaken an enemy wizard, and once they've gathered 4+ ritual points, or hold on for a chanting value of 8+ to deal 3 mortal damage to the target instead. So as you can see, we've got this here. So we've got the actual prayer, and we can have a look at it. So you can see in the top right corner, there's the diamond with the 4 number. That is the amount of points you're going to need to do your prayer. So obviously, each prayer will be asking you to roll a d6, and you'll get your chanting roll. So if you roll a 2, you keep those 2 points, but you're not going to be able to do a prayer. So the next turn, you can roll again, and you can add those points to the 2 that you've already got. And then if you've got 4 or more, you can spend them and cast the prayer. But, so we'll have a look at the prayer. So you pick a friendly Blades of Khorne priest to chant this prayer. Pick a visible enemy wizard within 18 inches of them to be the target, and then make a chanting roll of d6. The chanting roll is on a 2+. Subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0 until the end of your next turn. In addition, if the chanting roll is 8+, inflict d3 mortal damage on the target. Wow. So these is kind of interesting. This is what I think is going to be kind of fun, especially playing an army with prayers, like sort of the Fire Slayers and the Daughters of Cain and stuff like that, because this sounds really cool. I like the resource management straight away, and I'm really excited to see how this actually works in its entirety. So, building up the rituals comes with a risk, and the gods of the Age of Sigmar are pretty extreme. So the chanting of a roll of a 1 will lose you D3 ritual points. Notice you lose ritual points and not take damage, unlike wizards, which is kind of cool, and it's kind of a little bit of not as brutal as casting a wizard, where you'll take a potential D3 mortal damage. You just lose ritual points, which is kind of good. So we have a new law, a new thing, which is manifestations, which you haven't really worked out yet, is basically endless spells. So endless spells and invocations are the prayers, endless spells, are still in the mix. But instead of spending points to add endless spells to your army construction, you just pick a manifestation law. This grants access to a selection of endless spells and invocations that you'll be able to summon in the battle. So no longer needing to pay points to put them in your army. Ooh. And you'll just be able to choose a law, and that manifestation law will have a selection of them, and you'll be able to pick. So some factions have their own manifestations, while the current and the spells from the malign sorcery and forbidden power have divided into thematic laws. You'll find the infamous and ghastly purple sun in the morbid conjunction manifestation law, for instance, alongside suffering grey tide, malevolent maelstrom, and a soul snare shackles. I kind of like this because it kind of implies that you're not really going to be able to get to sort of double dip and like pick the best sort of endless spells and be able to do stupid things like you kind of can now. So as an example, I've been at the receiving end of a Seraphon army that basically used the malevolent maelstrom and basically cast it and then cast lots and lots of spells, so it ramped up to 6, and then they fire it through the spell portal so it explodes on the other side of the board amongst your army. Really, really kind of clever ways of playing and stuff, but it's really not nice if you don't have any anti-magic and you can't stop it. So I kind of get this, and I'm hoping that the manifestation laws are really sort of coolly sort of batched together in their little sort of groups, which we'll be kind of see, and we'll hopefully see in a few weeks' time. But obviously, wizards and priests can attempt to use their banished manifestation ability to expunge these autonomous arcane forms. There are many ways to interact with these conjunctions, which we'll cover in more detail next week. So, banished manifestations. Pick a friendly wizard or priest and use his ability to pick a manifestation within 30 inches of them and the target, and then make a banishing roll of a 2d6. If the banishing roll equals or exceeds the banishment value listed on the manifestation's war scroll, it is banished and removed from play. You cannot pick the same manifestation as the target of this ability more than once per turn, so you can only get one go at doing it. And then next week we are going to be looking, and I think this one right here next week on Monday is going to be an absolute doozy. It's going to be a big one. We'll be revealing a new miniature. Ooh, a new miniature. I'm thinking it's going to be a Stormcast Eternal, and we're going to be learning about battle plans, the General's Handbook, and battle tactics in the new edition. For any of you competitively minded players, Monday is going to be a big day for us, because our bread and butter, our meat and potatoes, and our substance of our game that we play is going to be laid out. And I've got a feeling that I'm going to be expecting to see a rule of 3 of showing in this General's Handbook. So I'm super excited about this one. So it's going to be good. But yes, that is Magic in 4th edition. So I'm pretty excited. Obviously, starting Blades of Corn for 4th edition. I'm super stoked that about the new prayers. I've got my Lizardmen, which you can just see over my shoulder. This shoulder just there. You can see my Lizardmen on my shelf for my speed painting army. So I've got to have them, and obviously I've got my Cities of Sigmar as well. So I've got a diverse array of armies that are going to be magic heavy, shooting heavy, which may or may not be good, and obviously I'm going to have a close combat heavy army that does a lot of prayers. I am pretty excited about 4th edition. It's definitely getting better the more they show. I have still a couple of reservations, and hopefully those will be put to rest tomorrow when they show us battle plans, battle tactics, and the General's Handbook. I am hoping battle tactics go back to being more simplistic and easier to achieve, and not have like 20 different things that you have to do to pull them off. Because that was crap. And the sort of monster, age of the monster that we had, where the battle tactics were like conquest, you know, capture an objective that your opponent controlled, or run 3 units and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed them because, you know, they were pretty easy to achieve, and sometimes you could sort of bake that into your battle plan for that turn. Unlike the current ones that we have, which are just stupid. But yes, that is Age of Sigmar 4th edition. I hope you're excited about it as I am. If you are, let me know in the comments below. And while you're there in the comments, telling me how amazing 4th edition is going to be, or how crap it's going to be, up to you. You can also hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with your friends, tell everyone about them, and get them over here onto the channel. I am closing in on 3,000 subscribers, and it is so cool. Not long to go, and I'm going to be hitting that milestone. By the end of the year, I want to be at 3,500. So if you can subscribe, it definitely helps me. And I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.